This is probably your umpteenth interview. You guys are road weary and very savvy neurosurgical applicants at this point. My name is Joe Quillin. I'm one of the fifth-year neurosurgery residents. That's Jeremy Wetzel over there, another PGY 5. The reason we're talking to you guys, which you're going to hear sort of ad nauseum, is because we're going to be the guys that are probably the closest in terms of your clinical training whenever you guys are PGY 2s. So whenever you become a 5, you sort of take on we'll be interviewing you guys tomorrow, you sort of take on the role of overseeing this process. So that's why you're getting us as kind of the face for the program at this stage in the game. You'll meet everybody tonight that's able to come and hang out at dinner, faculty and residents. And then tomorrow you interview with the whole slew of faculty, and then me, Jeremy, and Sheila, who's over at the Midtown Hospital right now doing some spine cases. So this is extremely informal, despite it being taped. But if you guys have any questions or anything, please don't feel free to raise your hand. Whatever. It's very informal. Okay. There's 135 slides, and I think we need to get through this in about 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm gonna be moving. All right. I've added a bunch of news. You guys are getting the most up-to-date version of this presentation. Okay. I've added a bunch of new slides. This is the old stuff, the old flavors. These are just some pictures from around Emory University campus. So welcome to Atlanta. Welcome to Emory. Obviously, that's where you are right now. Here's some pictures of all the stuff around Emory campus. A watchtower of unknown significance, the clinic building that we all hang out in, the Winship Cancer Center, and a beautiful gate for Emory University. You can talk to various residents that have been here for a long time, and they can give you kind of all the backstory for the Emory mascot and all that sort of stuff. I've been at Emory for 5 years. I don't really know that much about the undergraduate university, so if you have that, you can use Google like everybody else. This is Atlanta. We are way down here, so this is kind of this is the downtown area here. We're actually way over here. This is the Midtown area, and I live right by this pencil building that you may have noticed whenever you were kind of flying in, driving towards. So this is the 7585 interstate, and this is looking from the north direction down south. So here's downtown. Here's a new Mercedes-Benz dome that they just had the national championship in, and here's Midtown, where I live. I live in a really terrible condo. So anyway, here's the view of Atlanta from Emory. So you can notice Emory's very beautiful red tile buildings, all these kind of undergraduate dormitories and research buildings that aren't really that pretty. But I thought this was a really nice picture of the sunset with the Atlanta skyline in the background. And there's the pencil building where I live. All right. The idea is to not tell you everything about this neurosurgery program. I've given this exact presentation 2 times before today. You guys have heard this at least 10 times. This same sort of presentation from programs. Oh, here's our call room. Here's the CT scanner. Here's all this stuff. But hopefully this will give you a flavor as to who we are. There's pictures in here from like my honeymoon and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys can kind of understand like what we value and kind of how our system operates. And again, any questions at all, feel free to interrupt me and ask. This is our venerable program director, Dr. Nelson Oyeshiku, and you guys are probably familiar with him. If you're not, you will be very shortly. This quote actually captures his cadence quite well. We did not come to play, we came to win, the best, period. So he has a very unique manner of speaking, which is reflected inside of that. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is just a little bit of the history of Emory neurosurgery. This isn't too big of a deep dive. There is a Red Journal paper about this topic. You can look it up, the history of neurosurgery at Emory. One of the benefits of having Dr. Ishiku be the editor-in-chief of neurosurgery. You can always look this up and really dig down deep into all the nitty-gritty historical details. I think it's like a 3-page paper or something. It's not that big of a deal. Starting it off, though, is Dr. Charles E. Dowman. So the reason we bring him up is that he's the first neurosurgeon at Emory University. I think the point of the slides, there's not terribly important to you guys, but I think it ultimately will show you that the leaders in Emory neurosurgery go back for, almost 100 years now. With being leaders not only in Emory University, but leaders within neurosurgery. So these are people that have trained under Harvey Cushing. There's like a direct, people are very into the lineage thing in neurosurgery. So there's a direct lineage linking Emory neurosurgery to the neurosurgeons, the famous neurosurgery departments around the country all the way to present day. So Charles E. Dowman gets a distinction as our first neurosurgeon at Emory University, followed up by Dr. Edgar Fincher, who also trained, who was a charter member of the Harvey Cushing Society. So this kind of gets into all of our professors nowadays all have had these senior neurosurgical positions. Things like, the Harvey Cushing Society, the presidents of CNS, presidents of AANS. So we're an accomplished program on the backs of our senior faculty because they've all held these positions and they had the contacts and the wherewithal that those positions give them. So this has kind of just continued to be progressed throughout the years. There were some dark times in Emory Neurosurgery. There was a formal training program eventually established at the Atlanta VA Medical Center, which we no longer actually rotate at. But the reason we bring up Fleming Jolly is because Dr. Jolly was the only faculty left whenever the Emory Neurosurgery program was placed on probation after the death of Dr. Fincher. So he's sort of the man that carried the flame through these dark times. At that time, a nationwide initiation for a nationwide search for a chairman was initiated, and we came up with Dr. Tyndall. Dr. Tyndall is seen here, and he is seen right there in this kind of bronze relief over here. The famous joke that somebody mentioned to me is that we always, the way we celebrate him, it's like he's dead, but he's still alive and well. So, so Dr. Tyndall is doing great, and he's a great, he's really the father of the neurosurgical program at Emory, especially the modern neurosurgical program that people like Jeremy and I are very familiar with. And he's celebrated with good purpose, I believe. There's a Tyndall lecture series, just to kind of give you an idea. Like, our honored professor lecture series is named after George Tyndall, and he's one of Dr. Barrow's. He's his direct predecessor and one of his early mentors. So he's an important guy in our department. So you can read kind of about his pedigree here, but eventually he got to come to Emory University Hospital in the early 70s, and this is how we got to where we are today. Dr. Tyndall was a kind of skull-based pituitary guy, and he was one of the first advocates for advanced training in the endoscope. So he's also somebody that really helped shape Dr. Nelson Oishiku, who was a prolific pituitary surgeon, a gentle giant. It was an article written about Dr. Oishiku with pituitary surgery. So he really did a lot to mold and shape the department that we are today, starting way back in the 1970s. Moving quite along, under Dr. Tyndall's tutelage and his excellent leadership, the department grew in size. From modest beginnings, we've got the venerable Dr. Daniel Barrow right here, mustachioed, obviously a sign of the times. But we gained specialists, as all neurosurgical departments, or most neurosurgical departments did around the country, things like spine, cerebrovascular, functional neurosurgery, and consequently the residency program grew as well. This is obviously a picture from the early 1990s based upon everybody's haircuts. There's Dr. Tyndall. Let's see, there's Cargill Allen, who's at UGA, right, the chairman at UGA right now. There's Dr. Cawley, who's one of our senior vascular faculty here. Here is Dr. Olson. He is taking on a meningioma right now. He's our head of surgical neuro-oncology here. So there's Dr. Barrow, continuing down the line. So the department continued to grow in size as the residency program grew. What a ragtag group of guys that is. So the torch by Dr. Tyndall was passed over to Dr. Barrow in the mid-1990s, and at the time he was one of the youngest neurosurgery chairmen in the country. He is one of the longest running chairmen in neurosurgery. I don't really know the stats on that, but he's been our chairman for almost 30 years. So it's a very impressive feat. He comes from kind of central Illinois, went to college in the University of Southern Illinois, did his residency at Emory, and has been kind of a hometown guy ever since at Emory, really took up residence here. He did additional training with a fellowship at the Mayo Clinic and at the BNI. And of course, he talks about these relationships that he made all the time and how fundamental they were in his own development as a surgeon and a scientist. So anyway, Dr. Barrow is credited with modernizing and revolutionizing our department. So whereas Dr. Tyndall kind of pushed it into growth and to blossoming, Dr. Barrow really nurtured it along and made it what we are today, and made it as special as it is today. So this is just a little bit of historical context. There's not like a quiz at the end of this or anything like that. So Atlanta is a city of 6 million people. It's a beautiful city, I think, which is why I showed you a few pictures from the beginning, and I'll show you some more pictures from around town. It's the first big city I ever lived in. I'm from a really tiny town of like 50,000 people. I'm actually from the city by that town. It's really like 10,000 people there. But Atlanta is a city with the metro area of 6 million people. We're the only academic neurosurgical program in this city, and there's one other neurosurgical program in this state. It's a full 7-year program, as ACGME has required from all neurosurgical training programs, starting whenever you and I were coming up, I believe. There are 3 residents per year, a total complement of 21 residents by the Residency Review Committee, and that's it. The big take-home point, I think the most important part of the slide is this right here, because this could not be more true. This broad range of clinical opportunities and exposure to literally every aspect of neurosurgery. So this is kind of our mission statement as part of the program. This is probably what every neurosurgery program wants. They're not going to say, oh, we don't want you to be technically competent. Oh, we don't want you to demonstrate excellent clinical judgment. So this is kind of boilerplate stuff, but we take it to heart, and it's kind of is the guiding light to sort of how we train our residency staff, our house staff. So Jeremy's famous. Looks, that's him right there. That's Matt Gary. He is currently one of our spine attendings. This was whenever Matt was Jeremy and I's chief. So Jeremy was a lowly PGY2 right there, and Matt was a PGY7. So what will we do for you? We're going to teach you how to operate, teach you how to become a physician surgeon. We can give you full university support, whether it's academic, clinical, obviously, career development, which is nice whenever you have senior faculty members that have been part of the senior staff of National Neurosurgery. And also Atlanta and the residency corps provide you opportunities to enjoy your life outside of the hospital. So all those things are extremely important. All right, so kind of getting into what makes us up and kind of how we tick. Again, there's not a quiz on this, but if you're gonna kind of ask yourself what you're getting into, this is what you're getting into. You're getting into a major academic neurosurgical program split across 5 total facilities. And we're gonna go through each one of those facilities right now, complete with a map. There's the Emory main campus hospital, which you're sitting in. This is the clinic building across the street from it, but this is the Emory Hospital facade right here. This is the Children's Hospital Eggleston across the street. We always shorthand it CHOA, so that stands for Children's Hospital of Atlanta. So if I slip up and say CHOA, I probably mean Eggleston, okay? I say that because we have a second clinical pediatric neurosurgery site, which is called Scottish Rite, but it's also a CHOA Scottish Rite. They're the same hospital system, they're just different, 2 separate hospitals. So anyway, Eggleston is across the street and CHOA's up the highway a little bit. I'll show you a map. Grady is our level 1 trauma center, extremely busy emergency department and trauma center. Prolific fundamental neurosurgery cases there, traumatic spine, traumatic brain injury, full of potential for research, full of potential for lots of growth as a surgeon. Anyway, and here's the Midtown Hospital and the Pencil Building near where I live. And you will see all this stuff a little bit later today. Oh, that's called the Bank of America Plaza. It's not really the Pencil Building. That's just how I remember it. Okay, this is generally where everything is. So that little blue dot I took whenever I was actually making this screenshot on my phone. So that's where I live. But we're all right here right now, okay? These 2 little clustered stars right next to each other. This is Emory University Hospital, and the one just over here to the east is Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Eggleston, okay? So it's literally right across the street. The Midtown Hospital is right next to where I live at Emory Midtown right here. And this is the Scottish Rite, the CHOA Scottish Rite facility up here, about 15 minutes, 12 minutes actually up the highway, probably 20 minutes door to door. Inside the hospital, and this in downtown, literally the center of downtown Atlanta is Grady Memorial Hospital. You know, this is the airport down here, just to give you some perspective. That place where that picture was taken that I showed you earlier is probably right about right here, looking south. This is the 285 loop, so really, this is inside the perimeter. This is that 285 loop around Atlanta. So ITP inside the perimeter, OTP outside the perimeter. All of our residents kind of live inside this area. A big question you guys will probably bring up later is, where do the residents live in relation to this? And I think that's a perfectly reasonable question. I live right there. I think it's got a nice central location to all these little hospitals, including this one up here. A bunch of guys live in and around Decatur. Let's see, if I go from the top of my head, Griffin lives over here, Jay lives over here. Mike lives right here. Rema lives down here as well. A few people are scattered in between, like Jason Frerick. He's one of our PGY4s, lives up here. Andy Boucher lives about right here. So everybody lives sort of in this cluster right here. Jeremy lives about right there. So everybody lives right in this cluster. Nobody's living way out here because Atlanta is too big of a city, too much of a car city with traffic, and it'd just be a nightmare to try to do anything in the hospital, especially for an emergency on call or something like that. So everybody lives very close to the hospitals, and it's easy to get there. If you're talking about timing, it takes me about 5 minutes to get to the Midtown Hospital. It takes me about 8 to 10 minutes to get to Grady, depending upon traffic. It takes me about 12 minutes to get over to Emory and Eggleston. It takes me about 15 minutes to drive up the highway and go to the Scottish Rite Hospital. Okay. So this is Emory University Hospital. I may have put in some extra pictures here. These are numbers. I did not update these numbers. This presentation has obviously been kind of carried down for quite a while, so I can't attain for their exact accuracy. I don't know if you guys have a resource to look this up, so don't fact check me. But the main thing that you should take away from this slide is this is an extremely busy cranial neurosurgical service at Emory University Hospital, our flagship hospital. Spine, you'll notice, is less so. We do not do a lot of spine surgery here. We do whatever, spine metastasis comes into the emergency department and just needs to be taken care whatever, decompressive thing has to be emergently taken care of here. We do not do a lot of spine at the flagship hospital. That is reserved primarily for our Emory University Hospital Midtown campus, okay? And you'll see the exact opposite is true at that campus, okay? CSF diversion, things like EVDs, lumbar drains, functional neurosurgery, oh my God, they're so busy here. There's an incredibly robust aneurysm practice, as you might imagine, with our chairman being a cerebrovascular expert, which has spawned many dual-trained neurosurgeons in our department with the full gamut of interventional neuroradiology at your disposal here. So
it's functional numbers got to be way higher than that.
Oh my God, I'm sure they have 2 fellows. We'll get into that a little later. They're extremely busy. So anyway, I'm going to show you guys the call box kind of at the end of this saga that we're going through. And I most of the time I erase the cases as we do them during the week. I did that on Monday and then somebody else did it on Tuesday, but I left a few of them so you can see what our day looks like. Because today is a great example. Dr. Olson's got a brain biopsy and 2 meningiomas. Dr. Barrow had 2 AVMs. Dr. Ishiku's got 3 TSAs. And that doesn't even count Dr. Gross doing a DBS and MRI. And Dr. Cawley doing angiograms and like coiling stuff downstairs that I don't even like pay attention to. So Emory University Hospital is exceptionally busy. This is the Christmas season. I took this picture. I just wanted to put in something a little bit bigger. And this is the new hospital. There were no pictures before this. You guys are the first one for me to take a picture of. So it's kind of a pretty day. This is just right outside this facade. I just literally turned to the left and this is our new tower, right? Whenever Jeremy and I started, this entire building was literally a hole in the ground. They were doing demolition charges to do the underground parking. So they've been building this for a solid 5 years. And now we got this the Starship Enterprise here, this like glass monolith kind of connecting the two. It's a 2-level bridge so that they can get patients on like ICU patients on the 3rd floor directly to the ORs on the 3rd floor over here. And this is where we walk back and forth to go to conference because we're sitting right back here in this clinic building over here. And we'll walk across this. But it's a fancy bridge and a really nice building. We see a few consoles over in the tower. We don't really spend too much time over there. That was kind of an intentional decision. This was I took the second picture because this one was on a cloudy day and I wanted a blue sky, but this is the exact same picture, just a different view. We're sitting in this building right here.
It literally was a mound of dirt. I remember it so vividly when we were sitting in your shoes.
Yeah. So anyway, progress is being made. And it snowed on our first interview day. It snowed and all the applicants got stuck in Atlanta because the airport shut down. So anyway, I went to Dr. Ishiku's office and pointed my cell phone out the window, and this is the picture that I got. So there's some snow. That doesn't happen very often. All right, so this is a stock slide we have of our EUH faculty. This has changed a little bit. Dr. Dion has just retired. He is one of our INR guys from way back when. He was over at UCLA when there were some of the first coilings of aneurysms was done. So he was a tremendous expert in the interventional treatment of neurovascular pathology. Anyway, Dr. Dion has just retired. This is Dr. Barrow, our chairman. This is Dr. Cawley, a senior cerebrovascular neurosurgeon. And Dr. Dion trained as a radiologist, but he was fantastic because he's been doing this for like 40 years. It was really amazing. He's like, self-shaping his own catheters and things like that. Anyway, Dr. Robert Gross is our senior functional attending. Dr. Olson is the head of our surgical neuro-oncology. I'll mention Dr. Olson a lot probably because I have a special relationship with him because I'm doing an enfolded neuro-oncology fellowship this year. So I hang out with Dr. Olson all the time. I hang out with Dr. Olson and Dr. Ishiku all the time. So if you hear me kind of steer the conversation towards them, it's just because that's all I know nowadays. I'm just kind of constantly in their line of sight and in their coattails. So here's Dr. Ishiku, our program director. Dr. Willie is our newest functional attending. I believe he did his fellowship a few years here at Emory. He trained at WashU. He did his fellowship and then came on as faculty either the year before or the year that you and I started. Is that right?
Maybe the year before.
Yeah, I think the year before he started as faculty. So he's been here for at least 6 or 7 years, something to that vein. And Dr. Nicholas Boulis, our functional and peripheral nerve expert here. And this is all just at our main campus hospital. This doesn't include our other hospitals, like the Emory University Hospital Midtown campus. So this is the Midtown campus. You'll go and stand in this way too fancy lobby in just a little bit. You'll notice that spinal neurosurgery is way up from the 40 cases at the flagship. It's at 600. I can tell you that in the 6 months that I spent at Midtown, I did 266 spine procedures personally. And that's just me. But now we've got 3 full-time spine staff there. We've got Dr. Rotes, Dr. Rafai, and Dr. Gary, who are all extremely busy and extremely happy to teach. There's much less. 299. So Jeremy beat me. Anyway, so it's a very, very robust spine surgery practice.
You'll be sick of it.
Yeah. The craniotomy practice there is not as robust as it is here. It's sort of a mirror image, so they're complementary. A ton of ICH gets up in the Midtown ICU. We have to operate on clot evacuations, hemicrania, standard kind of neurosurgical fare. But this is admittedly not our main cranial campus. This is our spine campus, essentially. That's it.
And that number two is, we used to have two guys that did cranial work over there, Kenneth Hill and Dr. Hodge Panias, and both of them have since left. So craniotomy is probably
Lower than
order
100.
of like 30,
Yeah.
40.
It's literally like a mirror image of UH. Okay, and people always say, "Oh, what percentage spine are you? Percentage cranial?" And we're really heavy at cranial neurosurgery here, and extremely heavy at spinal neurosurgery at Midtown. This is a cool picture. It was foggy the other day, and somebody took this picture. There's the Emory Hospital, and here's all the downtown structures. The Weston building that's with the rotating restaurant, or the previously rotating restaurant, and a bunch of fog. All right, so this is our Midtown faculty. These are your main three players over at the Midtown faculty. This is Dr. Rotes, Dr. Rafai, and Dr. Gary, as I mentioned. This is the guy that was scrubbed in with Jeremy in the earlier picture, our main spine faculty. This is Dr. Rubel. He's one of our pediatric neurosurgeons who very rarely does, a few cases over at the Midtown Hospital for like adult tethered cord and things like that. Things in the NICU that they have over in Midtown, because a lot of residents and other women across Atlanta have their babies delivered there. Dr. Gustavo Padilla, one of our skull base tumor and cerebrovascular surgeons, who is the site director at Grady Memorial Hospital. Dr. Adamson, who's been here for 2 years plus, maybe 2.5, who came over from Duke, and Dr. Grossberg, who is another cerebrovascular attending that we have. Moving right along. Grady Memorial Hospital is the monolith that you probably drove by on the interstate. It's been here for a very long time. I'll show you a picture to prove that. This is the Fulton County Health Department that's literally across the street from where we'll walk in. This is the kind of Art Deco facade. We're going to park right here and then walk right into this building here. Our call box is right here on the 3rd floor, just around that corner there. So this is your neurosurgical fundamentals thing. This is designed to be and conceptualized as a resident-run neurosurgical service at the busiest level 1 trauma center easily in the state, probably in the southeast. There's a new building here that's like a 6-story emergency department. The emergency department is extremely busy, and if you talk to people that are applying to emergency medicine for the match, they'll probably know about Grady, and if they're a competitive applicant, they'll probably be trying to go somewhere like Grady. So trauma craniotomies, I mean, I can do a decompressive hemicraniectomy in my sleep now. Once you do junior residency going through at Grady, it's just like, waking up and going to have a cup of coffee is doing a decompressive hemicraniectomy. So lots of trauma craniotomies. There are non-trauma craniotomies, particularly more prevalent once Dr. Padilla came on staff and has really matured and developed the Grady neurosurgical service there. He's doing a lot of sophisticated neurosurgery that wasn't done there previously, aside from trauma cranies and trauma spine, things like acoustic neuromas, glioma surgery, awake surgeries. That's the sort of thing that Dr. Padilla is bringing over there, carotids, all that sort of stuff. Other than that, we've got, I'll show you the picture of the spine faculty in just a second. The Grady faculty that does complex spine, Dr. Ahmad is over doing complex spine, doing lateral approaches of the lumbar spine, lateral thoracic vertebrectomies, and all this crazy stuff. So it's a fully fledged neurosurgical service. I think this level of consults a month that we have dictated right there, 120 a month, is actually way low. I think we're now pushing like 180. And whenever Jeremy and I were going through, it was chief resident, junior resident, that was it. So you see every one of those consults and you're running around like crazy. They've subsequently added in a lot of mid-level staff to kind of take some of the administrative burden off of there, but it's a robust neurosurgical service, to say the least. This is just a picture of downtown. Here's a picture of Emory Midtown. So here's the Bank of America Plaza I've referenced. There's the Mercedes-Benz Dome over there. All of this stuff is downtown. Midtown is in the foreground here. Here's the Fox Theater, a little corner of it that we'll see later. And Emory's way over here. Okay. This is Grady Memorial Hospital at its humble beginning. So this children's ward now is where they have the MRI scanner. This building's still standing. So we'll park next to this and I'll just kind of point it out. You guys will be burnt out by that point, but here's a horse and buggy. But they still use this for like administrative purposes over there. And it's got the original like kind of concrete scrolled signs as Grady Memorial Hospital. It's really cool. So anyway, Grady's been an institution for an extremely long time. It's integral into the fabric of Atlanta's landscape here. These are our Grady Memorial Hospital faculty. I've waxed poetic about Dr. Padilla already. There's Dr. Ahmad, our complex spine. Dr. Grossberg, you'll notice, is a man of many hats at different facilities, working both at Midtown and at Grady, and occasionally over at Emory if he's called over. And Dr. Gupta, who operates on Monday mornings. This is CHOA, or Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. This is the Eggleston campus, which is directly across the street from Emory. We'll briefly walk you guys over there. It's a children's hospital. This is the level 1 pediatric trauma center in the state of Georgia. So kids are getting flown in from Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, all of Georgia to come over to Eggleston. They've got an extremely talented PICU and neonatal ICU. You'll see these kind of things barreling around town every once in a while. This is a mobile NICU unit that gets the little extremely tiny babies born anywhere in the tri-state area over to Eggleston. They have this is kind of a breakdown of cases. These cases are gently shifting over to the Scottish Rite Hospital where they have intraoperative MRI and things like that, but this is going to remain open because it's our level 1 trauma center. So your trauma on kids covering, EVD calls at night and stuff, that's going to be at the Eggleston Hospital. And we'll show you that. This is the new children's hospital being built in the North Druid Hills. If you remember that cluster of 2 stars that was sort of in the most northeastern corner right here, this building, I was driving by this the other day and just took a picture, is right above it. So it's literally down the road 5-10 minutes, something like that. So this is a brand new, fully fledged children's hospital. I didn't get a profile or a sagittal view of this building. You're just looking at a coronal there. But it's a fantastic thing. This is meant to eventually replace the Eggleston campus, and this is somewhere in like the 8-10 year range probably. So probably nothing you guys have to even consider, but it's kind of cool. We'll eventually be migrating over there long term. This is the Scottish Rite campus that was up way north that I showed you at the top of the perimeter. This is the hospital here. This is the site director, Dr. Boydson, who's awesome. It's the busiest pediatric neurosurgical practice in the country. There are 3 faculty over at Scottish Rite, full-time Scottish Rite faculty, and then the other faculty over from the Eggleston Hospital, Dr. Rubel and Dr. Churn, go up there for a lot of their cases. They are extremely busy. Cases go uncovered by residents. There's a fellow there every single year. It's competitive to get that fellowship. They do a lot of sophisticated surgery with tumors. They do a ton of epilepsy surgery. Their trauma comes into Scottish Rite, whether or not it's level 1, level 2. It's a level 2 trauma center, but it functions as a level 1. Craniofacial reconstruction, a very busy plastics department, cranial vault things that you do in conjugate with those guys. Anyway, so their whole myelomeningocele, there's the myelomeningocele a week. Some people come through their residency and they've never seen one, and we get those like, oh god, I see one of these a week. It seems unusual, but they do a ton of all of this stuff because this is the CHOA, or children, whether it's Eggleston or Scottish Rite, is the only place these people have to go. So it's just another kind of harping on the fact that not only do we do all of neurosurgery, we do it repetitively. We do it all of the time because Atlanta just has us, and Georgia essentially. The greater Georgia area, I would say.
Don't think about it. I didn't realize this, but we do. In 6 months rotating, right? I did 10 months of peds, and I probably did half a dozen at least, or more myelomeningoceles, and I didn't realize. And one of the attendings mentioned to me one time, said, if you go residency either West Coast or somewhere out Northeast, you're never going to see one. I said, why would that be? It doesn't make any sense. I said, well, they're all aborted. So down here in the South, where people don't believe in abortion, you see a lot of these things. And that's the sort of regional thing that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah. Interesting socioeconomic point.
Yeah.
So this is the faculty, just the full pediatric neurosurgical faculty, including the 2 guys that are mainly at the Eggleston Hospital, Dr. Rubel and Dr. Churn, who are both fantastic, and Dr. Boydston, Brahma, and Reisner. And that's those guys. Okay, so this rotation schedule. I don't think you guys should scratch your head too much over this because inevitably it's going to change by the time you get to wherever you're going. I think that in general, here are the platitudes you should know. Most programs, I don't really know anything about any other neurosurgical programs anymore. I would imagine most neurosurgical programs are the exact same. Your intern year, you're going to do a neurosurgical internship, which includes rotating on the neurosurgical services as the floor guy, learning from the junior resident, the PGY 2 or 3, how to do basic doctor neurosurgery things. Jeremy and I did a general surgery month that I think has been next. You'll do work with the clinic. So you'll go see Dr. Olson, Dr. Barrow, Dr. Ishiku in clinic. You'll do work with the anesthesiologist behind the curtain, learning how to put in IVs, put in arterial lines, intubate people. You'll do a ton of neuro ICU work. I think we do 4 or 5 months of just neuro ICU. So that's where you get your major procedural interventions done, and as well as learning about critical care. We've got a very robust neurocritical care unit. I think we take 2 fellows a year to that unit alone. So there's a ton of neurologists all the time. But that's really what part of what makes our department extremely special. I'll show you our ICU. It looks like an ICU, and you've seen ICUs ad nauseum over the last 3 months or so. You'll get a lot of experience this year. I don't know how many subclavians you'll put in, how many arterial lines, how many EVDs you'll be shucking in as an intern. You'll be extremely comfortable easily by the 6-month mark. Because I'm trying to overlook the interns now, and as a 5, I don't work directly with the interns all that often. So whenever I'm on with them, I'm like, okay, and they're like, oh, I know. I'm like, okay, great, you're the expert. So anyway, you'll be extremely
handy later on when you have to put an A line in or something because the anesthesia you can't get it.
Right. So this is where you become really, really competent as a physician your intern year, with an introduction to neurosurgical care. And an emphasis on neurocritical care. Your PGY2 year, your feet are planted in the ground at EUH right here. So you'll do 12 months. It's a night float system, 8 months of days, 4 months of nights, rotating, flipping between the guys. Okay, the 3 people. PGY3 year, your feet are pretty much planted in the ground at Grady. They have since introduced electives in neuropathology, neuroradiology, and INR, interventional neuroradiology. So Dr. Cawley's got his claws in these guys now, and so every PGY3 is going over to the angio suite and learning how that works for, I think, 2 to 4 months out of the year. So anyway, that's the general focus of PGY3. Again, it's a night float system, so I did 4 months of Grady days, 4 months of Grady nights, and another 4 months of elective stuff, neuroradiology, neuro-ophthalmology, all that sort of stuff. And our supporting departments are actually fantastic. Like our neuro-ophthalmologists are extremely reliable. They're the ones printing books in neuro-ophthalmology. So they're a tremendous resource that we get to take advantage of. And that's that. PGY4, Midtown for 6 months, just spine, inundating yourself in spine. Pediatric neurosurgery at both the Scottish Rite and the Eggleston Hospital for 6 months, really inundating yourself at that. We don't really intermix those too much. We try to do a chunk and a chunk so you have patient continuity and that sort of stuff. That's a fantastic year. PGY5 is where Jeremy and I are both sitting and talking to you right now. I'm in this portion of it right here. He's in this portion of it right here. This portion of it right here, I should say. So I'm doing the Enfolded Neuro-Oncology Fellowship with Dr. Olson, and it's been a really fantastic year so far. PGY6 is just what we call senior resident rotations. You kind of fill in the gaps of where you need an additional resident. As I've mentioned earlier, we're extremely busy, so there are sometimes cases going uncovered. A fellow falls through, and the attending doesn't have a fellow for that year. You're a senior resident, perfectly capable and conscientious of what needs to be done, so you can go fill in some of those clinical gaps. Otherwise, there's research and elective time. If you ask about protected research, it depends about what you mean. We always need people in the call pool because we're 21 residents spread across 5 facilities and that sort of thing. So you're never going to have a year at Emory University where you're just not taking call. You can go bury yourself in the lab and everybody forgets about you. But your call schedule, your 5th and 6th year is pretty minimal, to be honest with you. And the call schedule, honestly, at your stage doesn't matter. I'll tell you because I'm not trying to hide anything, but we take Midtown Hospital call once a night during the week. So my night was Monday night from 5:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. I was on call at Midtown Hospital from home, so that's home call. And then during your 4 year, you take a lot of weekends over at Midtown, but your 5 and 6 year, I think I've been over to Midtown twice for a weekend call, and again, that's home call. You round and go home and come back for emergencies, or I round the children's hospitals, and that's it. So your call burden during these kind of elective years is not protected or fully protected in the sense that you will still have to be on call, but it's home call and it's not that bad. And if you're doing research projects and you can't spare a weekend a month, then what are you doing? So anyway, your PGY7 year is your chief residency. So you're going to spend 8 months at EUH and 4 months at Grady, honing your skills and getting ready to get a job somewhere. This is a call schedule. I just kind of went through this. Night float for PGY2, night float for PGY3. You'll be in the Midtown call pool as a 4, 5, and 6, and you'll be in a chief call pool as a 6 and 7. Okay, but essentially, once you become a 4, you're taking home call, which is pretty nice. Exercises your clinical judgment. This is an important slide. It's all of our names, right? Just names. This is just showing the breadth and the depth of neurosurgical interests that we have here in our department. So we're not weak anywhere. We've got a ton of faculty across our spectrum that do everything. So literally anything that you want to do, we have here, and we have it in spades. So that's just the whole point of this slide. Okay, this is kind of we're dragging now because we're going to get into things that Griffin made whenever he was very proud of his video system. So weekly conference. So academics as part of neurosurgery, I think it's actually extremely important that the neurosurgical academic department stuff gets done well. And those are things like having M&M, having conference weekly, being a team, being a real academic program. And that's something that we revamped it like 3 or 4 years ago now. And so we've got this whole video conferencing thing that I'm doing from here. We got the projector that goes into the thing. And so so if you're over at Midtown, you're over at Grady, you're over at Scottish Rite, you don't have to drive all the way across town because you can just kind of phone into the conference and look at the video and look at the thing and the whatever. So we try to make it accessible to everybody, which is the point. So anyway, it's supposed to nurture this culture of learning continuously and foster mentorship and all that sort of buzzword stuff. Okay. All right. So this is our Thursday conference. So there are educational conferences, complex case, operative report conference, research conference, journal club, and then we've got grand rounds, which essentially we do our conferences. We'd have one this morning from 6:30 to 8:30. There's a two 1-hour time slots. And I currently am in charge of kind of organizing that. So anything you want to know about conference, ask me about conference. But I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with what case conference is, operative technique conference. It actually is really nice to have some of the leaders in their fields talk to you about nuances of technique or complication avoidance or all this sort of stuff. It's the sort of stuff they give at like AANS meetings and CNS meetings. So whenever they come and give it here, it's really pretty riveting. But this is all rotating. We have the Tyndall lecture, which is guest professors. Occasionally, some people will come through and they actively want to give us grand rounds, like people that they know in the community. We'll talk to our residents and we fit them in. So it's actually, I think it's been good and getting better. So this is all examples from rounds all in past. And this is just to tell you what it was like in the old days. If in case you can't recognize them, sorry, that's Dr. Ishiku right there, sitting right there. Drawing on the back of the pizza box, which is, we used to have conference like Wednesday evenings at like 6:30, and then we would try to organize some teaching conference, and we'd sit around this table and eat pizza and drink beer and try to learn something about pituitary surgery from Dr. Ishiku on the back of a pizza box. But that's changed. And that's the point. This video conferencing, this is the old software. You guys saw, like, it's obviously pixelated here because I think the maximum definition they could project with that software was 360p, but now we're up to 1080. So that's pretty good. We're in high def, baby. So we've got video conferencing in from all of our various campuses. That's it. Hey, that's me. I'm famous. So that's the YouTube page. We're actually populating a lot of the YouTube page as we speak now. Like we had originally, like some Tyndall lectures are on there, and some of our original grand rounds presentations were on there. But we're trying new stuff. So anyway, a lot of the residents are trying to kind of figure out how to bring us into really the 21st century in terms of getting us on social media responsibly, like YouTube. So anyway, that's that.
Is this you? Are you doing this YouTube stuff?
No, well, I'm doing the screen recording right now, which hopefully will make it onto YouTube if I did it correctly.
You know, we had a YouTube page.
Well, I did because I'm on it. Yeah, so now I'll be on a video. Anyway, so academic benefits, these are things like, the program is extremely generous to us. Not to say that we're not ever asking for more stuff, because we're residents, right? But they're extremely generous to us. They provide you with your loops. They'll come and get you fitted. You can have whatever loops you want. Essentially, they'll give you a budget of like, $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that. They pay for that right out of the bat. They'll give you an iPad for some reason. Whenever you show up in the door, you'll be like, I already have an iPad. Here's another one. Okay. But that gives you access to the digital library that we have. I'll show you a picture of it, but it's just an Amazon Kindle library with just a ton of textbooks, everything from Yaumann's to Schmidt and Sweets and skull-based dissection whatevers and everything, pediatric whatever, spine, peripheral nerve, all those resources are readily available from you at the click of a button. So that's pretty nice. There's a chief resident trip where you get to go pretty much anywhere you want in the country, some residents in the world, to go to the meeting of your choice. The department is very generous. They'll pay for you to go to a conference if you've got something to present at that conference. Yeah, it's good. This is just a screenshot of the library with a few of the books that are on there now. This library is kind of constantly growing. It's nice. In terms of pure academic research potential, there's a lot of research potential at Emory. We've got a lot of our faculty that are actively developing grants and getting funding from various sources, 3 R01s, 2 K08s. We've got a long lineage of residents which have gotten funding for their projects I am not one of them. So I cannot intelligently answer your questions about this. I recommend you ask somebody else. So you'll meet Dr. Gross, and Jeremy's not one either, so don't ask him. You'll meet Dr. Gross, and you'll meet Dr. Willie, you'll meet Dr. Boulis, you'll meet Dr. Olson, you'll meet all these like senior guys who have like this grant proposal thing down pat. And Dr. Rishiku, these are the people that kind of work you through the process and kind of get you in that. But all of these things are readily available to the residents. It's just kind of what you're willing to pursue. Research facilities, there's a neuro-oncological lab, there's Dr. Gross's lab, Dr. Willie's lab, Dr. Padilla's got a skull-based lab with the vasospasm and ICH research. There's plenty of research going along with the faculty. That's just a kind of a superficial brush over it. But plenty of stuff going on. Dr. Boulis operates at the Primate Center. Jeremy is getting into that right now. Georgia Tech, all those, they have a very robust biomedical engineering department at Georgia Tech, and they're encouraged to do a senior project where they pair with somebody over at Emory, and we're looking for partnerships as well, so that's great. Center for Disease Control is across the street, so there's all sorts of extremely valuable opportunity here, okay? I don't want to beat a dead horse. That's John Riley doing stem cell research with Boulis in that picture, by the way. He's an old resident. Okay, so Emory is a very fully fledged university. So there's the Rollins School of Public Health. They're like Griffin Baum, one of the current chiefs, just got his Master's of Clinical Science Research. So Master's of Science of Clinical Research. There are opportunities of which you may avail yourself whenever you're here doing that PGY5 and PGY6 year, and you have the full support of the department. If you can dream it, you can do it. So you just got to present your case to Dr. Rishiku, and as long as you're covering your call duties, he's got no problem with whatever you want to pursue within the university. So that's another good thing about it. Courses to attend. I don't know why we put that in there because you can go to courses. Emory Neurosurgery puts on courses. These are old flyers, of course, but we have a very robust functional course that's put on here every year, and we also have a lot of spine courses that go through here with spine hardware. We've got ICH, minimally invasive, like the brain path thing. I don't know if you guys have heard of the enriched trial and all that sort of stuff, but the port evacuation for intracerebral hemorrhage, a lot of those courses come through like once or twice a year. And our faculty are the administrators of those. This is the Georgia Neurosurgical Society fall meeting. Jeremy and I just went to this the other week. It's at a nice resort. This is the spring meeting, which everybody says is just delightful. So it's a Memorial Day weekend and apparently a super nice resort at Sea Island in South Georgia. Other meetings to attend. These are other meetings that you can attend. I haven't updated any of these long lists of residents and awards and things like that. We're also the site for the Southeast Boot Camp. So if you match anywhere, if it's not at Emory, if you match at UAB, South Carolina, Florida, we're going to be seeing you anyway in the first few months of residency because you'll come for the PGY 1 boot camp, and it's held at the medical school in their lab. Oh, look, this is back whenever one of our residents had hair. He no longer has hair. All right. So I don't want to beat this dead horse. Our faculty are leaders in their field, and their CV will speak for itself. We've got multiple previous CNS presidents, multiple previous AANS presidents, a lot of senior neurosurgical faculty. I have not updated this. You'll see since 2015. That's whenever Jeremy and I were twos. These guys graduated. But the point of this slide is just to show you we're not a hardline academic department. If you want to go into academics, that's fantastic. We have other resources. We can help you do that. If you want to go into private practice, we're probably about half and half in the residency corps. So again, if you can dream it, you can do it. This is everybody paying rapt attention at conference one morning, sitting in the very chairs you're sitting in now. This is taken probably 2 years ago because Osmond's there. But that's me and Jeremy sitting there looking good. So this is kind of something that's a little bit more entertaining for me to talk about. This is our softball team. I think this is the most recent picture. I'm sitting in the back. Yeah, okay, so this is last year's picture. So our legacy in softball, we were kind of starting to come into our own whenever I was a PGY 1, but we washed out in the first round of the playoffs. So we got through the round robin. This is the tournament in New York City in Central Park. That's put on by Columbia. So it's a lot of fun, and we all really love going, and I'm extremely passionate about it. So we washed out in the first round of the playoffs. We lost to the BNI my first year. My second year, we got all the way to the finals, and then we lost to BNI again. But they were on a 5-year winning streak of the tournament at that time. So BNI won both my PGY 1 and PGY 2 year and beat us. But we got second place in my PGY 2 year. PGY 3 year, we got second place, but we beat the BNI. We broke their 5-year winning streak in the semifinals. So anyway, we ended up losing to Miami in the finals. So we're kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride here. And 2016, we got kind of what I'm going to call third place because we lost to Vanderbilt, who eventually won the tournament. I don't know how those dorky guys beat us over Vanderbilt, but they sure did. No, we lost the lead a few times, but they came back and played a good game. Anyway, so I'm really passionate about softball, the neurosurgery softball team. These are just a few like candid pics that I snapped whenever I was over there. There's Mark Hadley from UAB, program director there. So that's no matter where you go, if you have the opportunity to go to the neurosurgical softball tournament, please go. It's really, really fun. Some senior attending at some program gets hurt every single year, multiple times. You can just watch them drop like flies. It's like 90 degrees out there, middle of the sun. These guys are like 70 years old, so they're just falling all over the place. The Birch Plantation is a place where we go and try to flex our athleticism. This is the annual faculty versus residents flag football game. There's Faiz looking particularly unathletic. There's Sheila and Rima looking very athletic. So anyway, this is a plantation that we go to once a year. Yeah, Faiz again. This is Sheila's much more athletic boyfriend, who's not a neurosurgeon, so he's putting us all to shame, tackling Jason Frerick, who's one of our PGY4s. This is more pictures of the Birch Plantation. Jay and his little daughter, who's all grown up. No, she's not all grown up. She's like 4 years old now. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right, and then just some department parties. So there were a bunch of old pictures of people here that I was like, oh man, I remember their names. Whenever they were PGY2s. So anyway, these are some of the pictures from our recent Christmas party, which is fantastic over at Dr. Barrow's house that he hosts for us every year. So there are kind of department events that we kind of come together at least a few times a year as a department-wide situation. Anyway, Atlanta facts. So Atlanta, one of the good things about it, it's in the South, cheaper cost of living. Development in Atlanta is going insane right now. This is a place, I don't know where you guys are from. I don't know, whether you're from Podunk like I am, or whether you're from I'm from New York City. But there's world-class restaurants, bars, breweries. There's so many breweries popping up now. You can't really keep it distilleries, everything that you want to do, museums, hiking trails, biking trails, paragliding, whatever you want to do, you can do here. I don't know what this ... There are lots of single people. That's very suggestive. Anyway, it's also the hub for Delta. So it's Delta hub, so you can kind of fly direct anywhere around the world pretty easily. It's like a 3-hour flight to Puerto Rico, which I guess you don't want to make right now, but I went a few years ago before the storm, and it was great. But you can fly anywhere you want around the country relatively accessibly. So this is just some stuff around Atlanta. This is the High Museum of Art. The Falcons, of course, lost the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl last year. The Claremont Lounge, plenty of golf. This is called the Beltline. We could talk to you all about the Beltline. It's a fantastic city infrastructure project, which has really taken off. So that it's like essentially a very wide, flat biking and walking trail that is, I mentioned the perimeter, the 285 perimeter around there. The Beltline is a smaller railroad line that used to run through the very inner sanctum of Atlanta, which has been defunct for years, which they have now bought all that land and are slowly over the years converting it and paving it for a walking biking trail. So all this development is going on around the Beltline. So housing prices are going insane. Apartments are popping up like crazy. Restaurants, bars, pubs, that sort of thing. This is the Fox Theater, which we'll kind of drive by on our way to Midtown. This is Old Turner Field back when it was next to downtown. They closed that down and put it up in Cobb County. But I'll show you a picture of the new field from a game I went to last year. The world famous Georgia Aquarium with all its whale sharks and its big classic aquarium tunnel thing. And this is just downtown. Okay. A few more pictures from Atlanta. This is Piedmont Park. So I live kind of close to here. You can see the representative construction. There's always construction around. This is just Piedmont Park. There's all these facts about Piedmont Park that you can Google. It's like, designed by the same guy that designed Central Park. Oh, it's this great green space. It's a fantastic, great green space that's right in the heart of Midtown. If I could flip back to that, I took some of my engagement pictures right here, actually. If you flip back to the map that I showed you guys earlier, you'll see a big green square, and that's Piedmont Park. This is where we warm up for softball. This is where we have our intramural softball league that we join every year. There's the new multi-billion-dollar Mercedes-Benz Stadium that Arthur Blank has so graced the city with and the city taxpayers with. I'll show you this big Falcon that we have right here. So this is obviously where the Hawks play, where the Falcons play, and where the national championship was, where the Atlanta United Major League Soccer team plays. I don't know if any of you guys are soccer fans. I'm not, but I've been to a bunch of their games, and they're really fun. So anyway, this is a big boon to downtown. They just demolished the old Georgia Stadium next door. Here's the inside. So here's from whenever I went to one of my buddies has season tickets to the Atlanta United games, and so whenever somebody washes out of his group of 4, he always invites me. This is kind of before the game started. Uh, Atlanta United has been setting attendance records in Major League Soccer all year. They used to play at the Bobby Dodd Stadium, which is actually walking distance from my condo on the Georgia Tech campus, but they kind of outgrew it and they had a lease in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome or Mercedes-Benz Dome. Sorry, I'm from Louisiana, so Mercedes-Benz Superdome just kind of rolls off the tongue. But you'll see here they kind of wrapped off the third tier of seating. They filled this up immediately. Every single game sold out. So they have since unwrapped this entire thing, and now it's just to the rafters, people. So people go crazy for Atlanta United. They just had their inaugural season. Here's that Falcon I told you I mentioned earlier. Here's a little cute little Atlanta United scarf they put on. And here's the new Turner Field. This is the new Brave Stadium up in north of town. It's probably 20 minutes on the interstate to get up there. It's extremely nice as well. There's a development around it. Did I put a picture in? I didn't put a picture in. There's a whole development around it called the Battery, which is just kind of cookie cutter development of just restaurants and stuff that's been integrated into the ballpark. So the idea is you get to the ballpark a few hours early, you can drink, you can eat, you can shop, you can do whatever, and then go to the ball game and then whatever. So it's actually extremely nice. It's just a little further away than Turner Field was. That's all. And then around Atlanta, there's fine arts things to do. This is the Fern Bank, a Natural History Museum. This is Piedmont Park again. With some dogwood flowers. This is Centennial Olympic Park. We were the host of the Olympics in 1996, big city. This is Stone Mountain. We can show you that later from Grady. That's it. This is a picture from the helipad at Grady that I took whenever I was an intern and snuck up there. So this is, I've shown you kind of the city from a few different angles. This is just some of the downtown buildings here. That's that Bank of America Plaza that I've pointed out a bunch of times. If you were to pick out Emory, it's way over here. So that's where we are. And then what do you really care about? What are the interviews like and why you're here, right? So you're going to go through all this. We'll go through a tour. And so I've used up all my charisma, and so Jeremy can talk a little bit. And I'll just kind of trudge through the tour and point out some funny things that I see along the way. But we'll show you the sites. We'll show you Grady. We'll show you Midtown. We'll kind of bring you back here, show our call box, and just kind of, this is how we live. This is what we do, right? Because honestly, an OR is an OR. We got plenty of those. An angio suite's an angio suite. A CT scanner is a CT. You've got to have seen out that like 15 times already. So we don't need to belabor the point, but we can at least, put our money where our mouth is and say, this is really nice. And coming from where I came from, I remember being shell shocked whenever I saw this place and be like, wow, like this place is really nice. And that's 100% true. That holds up to this day. I was going to take a picture earlier of like the OR hallway where just all of our stuff is kept. There's like, 6 stealth machines and 3 big Zeiss microscopes. Like, we got the brand new Zeiss, what is it called? The Kenevo microscope. I don't even know what the name of it is, but we're the second hospital in the country to get it. So like, it's like really nice. So we get all those kind of perks of being a major, well pedigreed academic neurosurgical institution. But what are the interviews like? That's what you really want to care about. I got off on a tangent. They're group interviews. This is just a blank schedule. This is just, you'll be interviewing with people that, like in groups. So for instance, you'll have several, like 4 attendings in a group. You'll have all the residents in a room. So me and Sheila and Jeremy all together. So each room has kind of set questions, whether they're neurosurgery specific, asking about your extracurriculars, asking about your academics and your emotional health, that sort of stuff. We'll just kind of probe you from kind of different directions. The idea is just kind of guide the conversation. Nobody really strictly sticks to that, so I wouldn't be thrown off guard if you go into the emotional room and they start asking about your research, because I believe Jeremy and I and Sheila are in the academic room. We're probably not going to ask you about your research. So, this is a good point, I think. No traps, no chairs, no suturing, no stressful stuff like that. I don't think that has a place in the interview format. I'm sure you guys have either heard about it or been a party to it through your interview process. I think it's ridiculous. So it's not meant to be stressful. It's meant for us to start a dialogue and get a feel for a person, because ultimately, right now, you're in your best behavior. We're on almost our best behavior. So like, we're kind of showing each other the sheen of things, but we want to be comfortable that you guys know who we are, where we're coming from, and what we want to give you and what you guys can give to us. That's all we want out of this. All right. It's not to make you sweat, and that's easy. So here's some sample questions. You've heard every question under the sun at this point, so only the most ridiculous things are going to catch you off guard, but we'll probably find something to catch you off guard. What do you do for free time? What do you do for fun? What can I tell you about our program? That's a good one. That was my very first interview question whenever I was coming through, and I had not prepared for the, what do you want to ask us? And I was like, oh, no. Anyway, do's and don'ts, just be yourself, speak clearly, don't be nervous and stuttery, and jittery. Just interview as a normal human being. That's all we ask. And just don't do stuff like give us paperwork or argue with us or, don't get out of control at dinner. Just be a normal person. That's all it is. And who are you interviewing with? This is from Grady, by the way. That's Jeremy. That's me and Jason Chu, who's subsequently graduated. That's me and the OR, Dr. Barrow. They were taking some, this is why I'm on the YouTube thing, because they were taking some promotional photos whenever I happened to be in the operating room whenever I was a PGY2. That's me and Jeremy enjoying some wings that Jeremy's cooking over at his house. You can see Jeremy doesn't stop talking a lot, so he's talking in the middle of cooking his wings. And there's me and him over at the Highlander in Midtown. That's Sheila, who's not here because she's over at Midtown. I'll text her and see if she's in between cases so she can pop down and talk to you guys today. But that's Sheila Ashragi right there, who will be joining us. The reason that this is just the Grady team. So there's me and Jeremy in the back and Perdia. I was just obviously everybody's in scrubs except for me right there, and I was obviously just crashing this dinner because I heard they were having breakfast, so or whatever that was nasty. They were having dinner, so I decided I was going to get some free food. This is our residency department photo from last year. I wasn't in the one this year because I was on my honeymoon. They did not tell me they were taking it that day. You can watch Jason Frerich's descent into madness as the Unabomber here. It's funny. I'll show you the past department photos, and from freshman year where he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then second year is all hungered down, and then third year he's the Unabomber here. He subsequently cleaned his act up, and now he looks a lot better. Anyway, so this is our attendings, kind of CV things. Dr. Barrow is extremely accomplished, and I don't need to beat a dead horse. You guys are probably privy to that information. Dr. Rhodes is the director of the service over at the Midtown Spine Hospital. He's a true gentleman and a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to learn from. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I really, truly, honestly believe that. Dr. Cawley's our senior neurovascular. Sorry, I'm kind of blowing through things. These are people, you can look this up on the website. This is just, everybody's got kind of their CV, where they come from, what they like to do, that sort of stuff. But this is just who we are. Dr. Olson. Okay, let's see. I think I've already kind of ad nauseum talked about these guys. And if you guys have any questions about a particular faculty member now or ever, you can just ask me. Okay, this is a picture of Kumar whenever he was a lowly PGY2 walking through the neuro ICU during the middle of the night. And this is a phone they had to get specially for Kumar, the junior phone, because he refuses to get off of his unlimited plan, and he doesn't get service in the call box. So this is a call box. You'll see this later. You can see Mike never stops talking. You can guess what word he's about to say. This is the call box. This is Dr. Brulis in the OR. That was Halloween. This is me in the wedding. So I got married to an Indian person, so I had to dress up in Indian clothes. So anyway, these are a bunch of guys that are at the wedding. Everybody else is on call. This is Dr. Olson, who's, again, the director of my neuro-oncology fellowship this year. This is from my honeymoon. This is in New Zealand. It's pretty nice, right? This is a place called Milford Sound. So if you ever get to go to New Zealand, you should check out Milford Sound. Anyway, I did a bunch of ridiculous stuff, but this is like super luxe and super nice. There's icebergs or glaciers, and then a yacht over here. This is kind of a cool jungle meets ice snowcap mountain stuff. I took a helicopter ride and I got to take that picture. That was pretty sweet. Oh yeah, we did some hiking. There's my that's my wife right there, the kind of little dot right there. Anyway, so we got to about right here, and then the wind was threatening to blow her off the side of the mountain, so she refused to let me go to the peak, which was an extra 30 minutes, and I was so mad. Anyway, but it's beautiful. Where can you get a picture like that, right? It's really cool. All right. That's pretty much it.